Romina, a strange and grotesque figure, a woman whose form merged with that of a scorpion and a centipede. Known as the Saint of the Bud, she is the silent guardian between the player and the gates of eldenring, the game's final stretch. A mythical and macabre figure who deserved much more distinction. But who is Romina? What is her connection to the Scarlet Rot? And why is she so different from another woman marked by this decay, Malenia? In today's video, I will explore the possible reference behind the construction of this character, so strange and yet so beautiful. One of the many tragic figures in the world of Elden Ring, and personally, one of those I adore the most. Also, thanks so much for the 100 subscribers. I will continue bringing more Elden Ring, Bloodborne, and other games lore. So, let's begin. Romina was likely a priestess from eldenring or Scarlet, living in her small church in Rau. She fought alongside her people, the Horsens, against Mesmer's invasion. In the trailer, we saw her figure collapse on the ground holding the scarlet bud, the same flower that would become her weapon, the pole blade of the bud. Once, in the crumbling, burning church, Romina held the bud in speechless silence. We know that Romina cultivated a beautiful garden, filled with red flowers, probably in the small church, deep in the ancient ruins of Rau. This garden perished in the war, and what survived was transformed by the Scarlet Rot. We can deduce this from the description of her remembrance, which states, "After the church was burned to the ground, Romina discovered a twisted divine element, which she weaved into the baleful Scarlet Rot. Perhaps then, the buds might find somewhere to gain purchase once more within the scorched remains." There are still traces of this garden in the church transformed by decay. Her body was perishing, but Romina did not wish to die, no. She still needed to care for her church, her flowers, and her people, what might have remained of them. Mesmer finished his carnage and proceeded to the Shadow Keep. The total destruction of Rau only stopped after the pleas of his Fire Knights. I talk a bit about this in my videos about the Specimen Storehouse and the Fire Knights. Anyway, we can only deduce, without great certainty, why Mesmer left Romina there. Perhaps he didn't know she had survived, and after burning the entire place, he moved on. Or maybe he thought it better to leave her contaminating the area with Scarlet Rot, a great way to prevent anyone from entering that place. The Saint of the Bud remains, transformed after embracing the God of Rot and his twisted blessing. A kind of sanctified figure of a macabre place, a strong woman who did not accept the devastation of her world. Romina lost everything, her church, her people, and her home. And when it became clear that everything was burning, she decided to become a martyr. That is, she refused to succumb to the desolation imposed by Mesmer and was chosen by the Scarlet Rot. Her ordeal resulted in a complete transformation. She becomes a receptacle of the God of Rot, the Saint of the Bud. Her body undergoes a total metamorphosis. When we encounter her, it is impossible not to be enchanted by the delicacy of her movements, with butterflies and a pink and red hue flooding the scene. At the same time, Romina's figure is frightening, a blend of woman with a scorpion and centipede. Both animals are associated with negative elements. The scorpion is venomous, but only attacks when provoked, seeking dark and hidden environments to survive. It is also seen as vengeful. In ancient Egypt, the goddess Sanctity, protector of the dead, was associated with the scorpion, which was, for these people, a symbol of death and rebirth. The centipede, on the other hand, is associated with decay, as it lives in damp earth filled with organic matter among leaves and dead animals. In Japanese culture, the giant centipede, the mukade, is a kind of a monster, a yokai, enemy of dragons, which represent all that is elevated and noble. The mukade consumes corpses and is related to putrefaction and desecration, elements that are present in everything related to the Scarlet Rot. At the same time, by calling Romina the saint of the bud and not of a flower, it signifies that she is incomplete. The bud of a plant is the part still in development, which was not become a complete flower. It is as if Romina were an interrupted flower that will never achieve full bloom. Of course, if we think of the other woman related to the god of Rot, Malenia, we can draw a comparison between Romina's incompleteness and Malenia's perfection, who, after all, becomes the goddess of Rot. I will talk more about the difference between this woman at the end of the video. When the game chooses to call her saint, there is also a need to make it clear that this woman was not a deity, but a receptacle, someone who received the gift directly from the god of Rot. Becoming a saint is no small feat, since for the Christianity, only those enlightened, pure, who performed admirable deeds and sacrificed themselves for faith, achieved this status. Saint Caterina of Siena, an Italian mystic and one of the most well-known figures of medieval Catholicism, was canonized in 1461. Mystics are those who experience altered states of consciousness or ecstasy in order to commune with God. Catherine had visions of Christ, fasted for long periods, and bore stigmata on her body, which, according to her, were gifts from God. She believed she had married Christ in one of her visions. Bathed in the blood of Christ crucified, see that you don't look for want anything but the crucified, as a true bride ransomed by the blood of Christ crucified. For that is my wish. You see very well that you are a bride, and that he has espoused you, you and everyone else, and not with a ring of silver, but with a ring of his own flesh. Another example of visceral faith was Saint Teresa of Avila, a Carmelite nun and Spanish mystic who was canonized in 1622. For Teresa, the greater the suffering, the greater the chance to unite with God. One of her most famous visions, recorded in her letters, describes an angel piercing her heart with a flaming spear, the mystical experience known as the transverberation, a symbol of ultimate spiritual ecstasy. I saw in his hand a long spear of gold, and at the point there seems to be a little fire. He appeared to me to be thrusting it at times into my heart, and to pierce my very entrails. When he drew it out, he seems to draw them out also, and to leave me all on fire with a great love of God. The pain was so great that it made me mourn, and yet so surpassing was the sweetness of this excessive pain that I could not wish to be rid of it. After that experience, Teresa sought to imitate Christ's suffering in her daily life as a form of atonement. Lord, either let me suffer or let me die. Thus, the title Saint of the Bud is not merely an aesthetic or narrative choice. It is a theological statement within the world of Elden Ring. Romina fits into the tradition of mystical saints who, through extreme suffering and the transformation of the body, achieve a sacred union with the divine. The difference is that while Catholic saints were united with a God of light and salvation, Romina surrenders to the God of Rot, a forgotten, visceral, and cruel God. It is through this act of absolute, even blasphemous faith that Romina transcends into sainthood in a decaying world. Two women. Two reactions to the corruption brought by Scarlet Rot. In my video about the horrors of the Rot, I mentioned how the game constantly reminds the player that everything tainted by this affliction undergoes complete transformation, whether of the body or the mind. Rot is one of the divine elements of the outer gods, and eats away at life like a vicious plague. I also pointed out that the use of the word rot is not accidental. It evokes disgust, decay, putrefaction. Those who resist their fate wither slowly. But there's also the possibility of accepting the transformation and being reborn in a new form, however grotesque. Malenia rejected her destiny. She was proud, a warrior who resisted. She was aided by Miquella, as well as her mentor, the blind swordsman, known for having fought the god of Rot in the past. After all, Malenia wasn't an ordinary woman. She was an Empyrean, a powerful demigod who would never allow her body or her mind to be consumed by an outer god. The only time Malenia embraced her condition was during her battle against Radam. Moved by her promise to her brother, driven by purpose, she finally blooms, allowing the rot to consume her body. A truly tragic story. However, she rejects everything that the rot produces. She abandons all it represents, the kindred of rot, the butterflies, and even her will to live. She returns to the Halic tree, remaining there alone in eternal pain. If Malenia was a proud woman, Romina was not. After losing everything to Mesmer's flames, there was no space left for heroism. She finds salvation in the rot. She surrenders, as in doing so, incompletely transformed. Her devotion to the outer god was so profound that she was rewarded with rebirth and power. Romina welcomed everything that Malenia denied, even managed to soothe and control the rotten butterflies, once described as the goddess of Rot's wings. Her incantation of the same name states, "The butterflies break apart in contact, scattering rot and setting off a chain reaction." The scarlet butterflies are as the goddess of Rot's wings. Bereft of a master, they were soothed by Romina, who reached out to them. Around her church, players can find a population composed of kindred of rot, blood fiends, flymen, scorpions, the forgotten creatures, the abominations of Rao. The kindred of rot found near Romina have a different color from the pale pests in Ionia. Perhaps because they were embraced by her, they began a new stage of transformation. The pests are abandoned servants, and it is for this reason that they found a mother in the Saint of the Bud. The area near Romina still houses blood fiends and flymen. The flymen are sick hornets, infected by fly sickness, outcasts who survive their metamorphosis and become grotesque beings rejected by their kin. It's only fitting they would seek refuge near the Scarlet Rot, which is also a disease. The blood fiends, on the other hand, are more mysterious. They could be hornets or another people subjugated by them, who encounter a twisted deity, an outer god, and were transformed. The most likely outer god here is the Formless Mother. I won't dive into their lore now, but all signs point to the blood fiends of Rao seeing Romina as a kind of mother of the Forsaken, the saint of abominations. Finally, we find giant scorpions, likely mutated by the proximity to the Scarlet Rot, much like the giant dogs and crows of Aeonia. This breed of scorpion was native to the realm of Shadow, but was far smaller in size. Recent giant scorpions are said to trace back to the Church of the Bud. Perhaps the saddest thing is realizing that Rao has become a home to bizarre creatures and spirits. The few survivors are Romina's adopted children, and some lost Hornsense warriors, still trying to protect the remains of what was once a beautiful place from external corruption. One lingering question remains. Will the Scarlet Rot spread beyond the Church of the Bud, as Malenia's rot spread across Caelid? Everything suggests that it could. But the fact is, Romina was not a god, only his vessel. Her power was limited. And maybe that's the only reason why we didn't see a larger rot-infected region in the Land of Shadow. Romina is a tragic saint, a woman who embraced total transformation after losing everything she once knew. A figure of such deep faith that she endured, fusing herself with the rot, not by fate, but by choice. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe for more lore content. And once again, I want to say thank you for the 100 subscribers. It was surreal to see that happen. Until next time, see ya!